Well, April, I want to go over the story very carefully here after the break, and we really appreciate you joining us. But did you know now there's all these videos of minutes after the towers fall of guys in baseball caps professionally walking around saying the same thing about, well, the plane went in with all that jet fuel and went out the other side, and it caused such incredible heat on the structural, weakened the girders, and it fell from structural weakening, of course, but said it all professionally. Then the news all repeated it. And now we know at the Pentagon and at the World Trade Centers, guys would go around saying, this is what you saw. You didn't see bombs going off. You didn't see that. And with Building 7, they told the cops, you didn't hear us say we were going to blow that up. So when we come back, I want to specifically go back in every detail you can tell us about who this person was, how they were dressed, what they looked like, what they said to you. I mean, imagine you're laying there in a bed. Why should they care about somebody at the Pentagon who her and her baby were hit? I mean, they know it's a plane. Everybody knows, Why go to an eyewitness and say, hi, you're awake now, dear. Let me tell you what you just saw, okay? Let's get this real straight right now with you. Just like they had all the guys on the streets giving a same script out. And BBC reporting Building 7 had fallen exactly as it did later fall 25 minutes before it fell. Both BBC channels and CNN. I mean, folks, the facts are the facts. They did it. That's how dangerous these people are. We'll be right back with April Gallop and tell you the rest of her story. She needs our support. April Gallop is our guest. I'm looking at a photo of her and her young son, who's now grown up quite a bit since that terrible attack 7 years ago. April, continuing here with as much detail as you can. You're laying there in the hospital bed. Who did he identify himself as? Where did he say he came from? And what did you think? I mean, as somebody's hovering over you, telling you, this is what you saw, this is what happened, is that clear? You got the official story, understand? I mean, go over as much detail as you can.
Well, the gentleman didn't identify his name. He was with other military. There was like one person in a Navy uniform and one in an Army uniform. But the gentleman who spoke was just in regular clothing. He didn't really say, hi, I'm so-and-so. It was not like, how you doing? I'm so-and-so. I'm with... He never identified organization or... No,
he's a spook. That. He's the kind of guy that launches missiles into buildings. He's a bloodthirsty spook, killer spook. And he's there to let you know, young lady, this is what you saw. Isn't that right? Because I'm a hardcore soldier, and I understand collateral damage and sacrificing pawns, and you don't. So, I mean, he's there. What are the other guys doing? I mean, was he white? Was he black? I mean, describe him.
He was a Caucasian American, and he was accompanied by an African American, and I think the other woman was Asian American. Okay,
so the spook house is there, and you're saying they're in different branches of the military uniforms. Do you remember?
Yes, because after he left, the lady did come back, and she was saying that they were going around, doing accountability. Because I had asked questions, I was like, well, wow. I mean, are you going to ask if I'm okay? Or, I mean, well, who are you? And so nobody said anything. He just said what he had to say, and that was it. So then she came back, and then she just said, hey, we have to do accountability and make sure we know where all the military people are.
Exactly. It's like, smooth that over with her. That one might ask questions. Now, I mean, by then, are you wondering why you're seeing on the news, or had you watched the news that a flight...
No, I had not seen the news. I had not seen the news till about 2 more days later. So I think I saw the news maybe the 14th or the 15th. Because at that time, of course, we're getting evaluations. Because immediately the military does the investigation to determine who's at fault or if you caused part of your accident. So immediately investigations began. So immediately I went into investigation.
Well, let's stop and go back, and then we'll go forward into investigation. What specifically did he say to you? What did he say? He said, here's what you saw. I'm going to tell you what you saw. What did he say?
Specifically? He said, what do you think happened? I said, oh, well, I thought maybe I triggered something because as soon as I touched the button on the computer, boom. He was like, no, this is what happened, and that was it. It wasn't like he was elaborating or It was nothing additional.
And
it was just blank, straight to the point.
April, what did he tell you happened? What did he say happened?
That some terrorists had hijacked a plane that ran into, or crashed into the Pentagon.
Now, have you ever talked to others? Because this story comes up with other emergency workers that showed up, people in the that these men would show up and say, "This is what you saw." Is that clear? Did you ever talk to anybody else who told you similar stories?
No, I hadn't. No, I hadn't talked to anybody.
Okay. Now, you said you immediately went into the investigation phase. Please continue.
Yeah, what happened is when you're in the military, regardless. First of all, the Pentagon, you're selected to come there. So not everybody gets to go to the Pentagon. You're selected to come there. But it doesn't matter. If you're still active duty military, they begin investigations to determine if any part of that incident was your fault. And so then you have to get, physically, mentally, emotionally evaluated, and then they investigate the incident to determine who's at fault. And so that began right away. And from there, they say, yeah, this is what happened, none of it is your fault, or they say, this happened, but part of this is your fault, that type of thing.
All right, let's talk about that investigation. Long segment coming up with our guest, April Gallop. She survived with her newborn son in the Pentagon, where she held a top secret clearance with the SCI, with the U.S. Army. So we're going to go right back to her after the break and break down what she witnessed and what she saw and what she thinks about the official 9/11 fairy tale. Stay with us. Just want to make it clear, the establishment carried out these attacks because they knew we had cognitive dissonance and they thought that we couldn't face the horror of that. It's very cynical, very cold-blooded, and it is the military mind, the cold-blooded war planner mind of end justifies the means. Well, you are not the good guys, and what you've done to this country is not good, and we are going to resist you, and we are going to expose you. So be put on notice for that, and it's not any pleasure or fun that we undertake this dangerous mission against you. We understand you're cold-blooded, hardcore thieves. You're sucking the whole country dry right now. The pension funds, the Pentagon's got $4 trillion missing. The Pentagon was in deep trouble, over $1.9 trillion missing in the Associated Press and Reuters 2 days before the attacks. And we know you're trying to cover up your bank robbery. Okay, going to April Gallop. Thank you for holding during the sponsors that make the show possible. Because I want you to be able to tell whatever part of the story you want. You've told us up to this point. Then they start the, quote, investigation. In the 20 minutes we've got left, roughly, run through then the rest of the story. And, boy, is there a lot of it left. And then tell us your take on what really happened on 9/11, being one of the victims of it.
Well, it's a long story because, again, it's been a long journey, and we're still battling in 2008. And the investigations remain ongoing, and because every so many months, during the medical evaluations, the paperwork would get lost. And so then we had to start all over again and begin the process all over again. And so it stayed that way for many, many years. And then during one point in my medical eval, they were pretty much explaining to me that it wasn't appropriate to share that my son had been in the building that particular day and had gotten hurt. And then I thought it was unusual when I asked, well, what in the world am I supposed to say? Who am I supposed to say, was hurt him? I mean, what in the world was I supposed to say? And a lot of these incidences are so memorable because you wonder, how do you tell someone that? Or how do you come in a hospital when someone's laid out and say, this is what happened, and never ask, well, how are you?
When did you start to get suspicious about it not being an airplane that hit the Pentagon?
Well, because when I was finally told, then I started asking questions because of where I worked. This was the Pentagon, supposedly one of the most secure buildings in all of the United States of America. And when you think about the budgets, the technology, and things to that effect, my rationale was how on one particular day nothing was functional and nothing was operational on that particular day. I just was thinking, what was the odds? And then, wow, jet fuel? Then I looked up, the jet fuel, what the impact would be like, and then I began to question, well, how in the world, if this happened, how in the world are we not ashes?